Hello world, WayofTime here, bringing to you another episode of EEPower. So I did a little work while I was off, and I made an Omni wrench because, once again, another thing that was lost in the canvas bag, a wrench. So I made this. Obviously it's an easy enough thing to make, only requires 2 diamonds, gold, and cyan wool, which I had to use the EE transmutation to get to because frankly I did not have any access to cyan dye whatsoever. Anyway, so we got this. We also harvested a bit of cactus from the desert way over there. And let's just go and grab some apples because we're going to want to have a bit of food at our disposal. If I didn't know any better, I'd say it was not happy at me because it tried to run me over. Hoping we can get some sort of ambrosia going eventually with some bees. However, that is probably going to take a bit of time. Now, the advantage of the Omni Wrench is that it can work on multiple things, such as, well, it can even orient logs if I'm not mistaken. Anyways, we got some more cells that we can probably use at a later time, but we also have some cans because I'm thinking of just bringing a few. I dropped that down earlier. I'm thinking of bringing a few of these over to the age with me. So let's just get all the liquid out of here. It's not going to be a mean feat, and we're going to want to disconnect this temporarily so it doesn't transmit any power, so that I'll more easily get all the fluid out of here, which should be an easy enough endeavor. And that will be a total of a bunch of cans. Let's just say a bunch of cans, and then that'll be good. Now, I think this works with Greg Tech machines, if I'm not mistaken. Ha ha! Ha ha ha! Potato? Potato! Okay, so I have to do the top of the Greg Tech machine. That's not too much of a problem. So let's get you. Let's get you as well as you, and then we are good. We got 4 diesel generators as well as 4D cans. Does this deposit the cans after the fact? I have no idea. So let's put this wire back on so that it can retransmit the power if need be. As you can tell, it does need. And we'll just reset this so that it'll drain and continually give fluid. So we have a diesel generator, and this is probably going to either be a temporary generation, though I'm not too sure on that part. So what we're going to make, first of all, is to get some. We're going to go for some applied energistics. So that requires ME, which is matter energy. I at least think it's matter energy. Now, the problem with applied energistics is it costs, well, I think a lot of redstone. Just a lot of redstone. And ME drives is one of the things that I'm going to want to make. Now, that first of all requires a quartz cutting knife. So let's jump into the applied energistics and start with the most basic of all components. So quartz cutting knife, and then just a bunch of pages all of a sudden apparated in front of me, and I have no idea what to do. Quartz cutting knife, just 2 quartz crystals. Let's get a stack of quartz crystals and a stack of quartz dust stuff. Yes, dust stuff, here we go. Okay. And if we are to ever run out of one or the other, we can either macerate these or compress these. And it's a 4-to-1 ratio either way. Now, for another part, we're going to need to take said quartz dust and put it into a furnace. I'm going to put, let's see, 8 is probably enough, and what we get are some nice silicon. So we take the quartz dust, put it into silicon. Okay, that shouldn't be too much of a problem. There we go. And now, I don't think it's a one-time use, this quartz knife. It must be similar to the Red Power saw and other similar devices. So let's make up 2 basic processor assemblies. Let's see, how much does this use? It used 2 of a possible, I have no clue. And So, as you know, I think I've said this multiple times, applied energistics, what you do is pretty much it takes all of the items that you have and puts them as data. This data is used, or rather energy or data. It depends how you really think of it. I like to think of it as data, though you could also think of it as, anyways, as I was saying. So it compresses it in some unknown art form, and then you can use it and access those items quite, well, relatively easily. So what we're going to make first is, let's go with two chests, just in case. I'm sure we're going to need to get more chests at another time. But anyways, so what we're going to make is a disk holder. So this is why I think it's like data in the fact that you hold everything in drives. So for this drive, we're going to need to have two ME processors, which are going to take these spots instead of the glass. So here and here. And then we're going to need 4 iron to round it all off. And then we have an ME drive. Now I think we're able to access it by, well, right-clicking. And we have 10 slots. And we can then, let's see, this is a storage priority. Can we break it? Yes, we can without losing the stuff. Okay, that's good. Can we actually eat it? Thank you. Okay, so there are a few items as well that we're going to need. So control unit, I think, is going to be needed. ME control unit, which requires an ME advanced processor, which requires diamond instead of gold as the main cutting reagent. So let's get the silicon down, and we're going to need diamonds. So let's go get some diamond. So what I did also was I made another quarry at the chagrin of quite a bit of my gold supply, but I'll be able to start getting a bit more copper, so we'll be able to finish our nice little breeder down there since we don't really have any access to any breeder stuff right now. So let's get the advanced processor assembly, then we'll melt this in, or rather half bake it. There, it is close to the real world way of doing things, so can't really fault it on that. So we just need some stuff for this controller. So once we create this, we'll be able to go a bit more in depth of what each of the components do. And speaking about components, we have too many components here. So let's actually, now that I think of it, it's probably good to take all of this stuff over back where we are going to actually use this, put in a bunch of stuff, then we'll be able to talk about this more eloquently. So let's get a project table. I think we have everything we need. Let's just grab that. We don't really need the machine casings, that, and refined iron, probably not. And let's hop back into our home age. Might want to think of a better name for that. And this, I've decided this room or floor is going to be for our storage. So all of our storage is going to be in here. Now, we might repurpose it at a later time, but oh well. So let's get the first part down, or rather, let's get our project table, which is going to help us make all of this stuff. So put that in there, that in there. We'll need that, probably the iron, gold, and redstone. Now that we have all this in here, we'll be able to ME this stuff up. And did I forget, did we need the chest for this? No, we needed the quartz. 4 quartz, 4 iron. So this is the ME controller. What the ME controller does is pretty much every single ME network, which is pretty much just a data network where all of the items are shared between different machines depending on how you set it up. What you need is a controller per network. So this is going to be the ME controller for the network for our storage. So anything that's connected to this can share items in between each other. Now that comes in handy when you have large access things such as an ME drive here. Now there's one thing that is going to be needed though. Since this is a data center, it needs energy. And what we're going to use for energy are these diesel generators. So we'll put the diesel generators here. We'll probably not have it in such an array at a later time, but I think 48 EU per tick will be enough. Now, the ME controller uses units per tick. That is something else entirely compared to EU per tick, so there's a certain conversion ratio that needs to be adhered to. I think it's 2 EU per unit, or is it 1 EU per 2 units? I'm thinking it's 1 EU per 2 units, though I may be wrong. I think I'll check that at a later time and we'll be able to verify that, well, later. So, what was I going to grab? We're going to need to grab some fibers. And where are the fibers? Where art thou, fibers? I need to get the glass fibers, which are up here, yes. The glass fibers that are going to store everything. Or rather, transfer the energy. Now, I made this little bad boy for later because I think that's how we're going to be able to transfer between floors. I have a bit of a solution worked out in my mind, but we're going to have to see how that pans out in the future. So let's go like this and directly transfer it. I'm not too sure if there's actually a voltage maximum that it needs, but this should be enough. So we're going to want 10 of these per. And we do get the cells back, so that is nice. Ideally, you only really need one of these, really. But I think that's good. Oh, that is also nice. Unless, okay, I respect that design decision. When you're inputting with fuel cans or any other thing into the diesel generator, what it does is it only uses one. I like that. So, we got energy, and this ME controller itself is using 6 units per tick. So that's 3 EU per tick, I'm at least assuming, with our conversion ratio. So that's only a quarter of one of these diesel generators. Now, we're going to need to have a few things, and let's see what we need. We also need to have a disk. Not a disk, a drive? Not a drive. Let's see. Storage. You can tell I definitely had these in the few before. So there are different types of storage. We can use 1K, 4K, 16K, or 64K. So we're using a bunch of bytes for this. Now, let's first of all use just let's try to make the 4K. Now, as you can see, it gets progressively more difficult to get to these stages. So for instance, the 64K requires a storage cluster, which requires 3 of the things that are required for the 16K, which in itself require 3 of the things that are required for the 4K, which in of itself require 3 of the things for the 1K. So we're going to go with 2 of these. So what we'll need is we're going to go with 2 of these 4K storage. I think that will be what I want to do, but we'll see how that pans out. So for that, we're going to need a bunch of storage segments. Let's get our 4K up. We're going to need 2 of these, which requires 1 of these, and 3 of these each. So that's a total of 8 of the ME basic processor for each. So that'll require that, and that. We're going to need to melt a bit more silicon. Let's go get a basic 4. That should be good. Now, the advantage of all of this applied energistic stuff is that, well, there are a few things. One of them is that it can scale really well in design size. So you can easily advance to further amounts. Okay, we're using a lot of energy here, so let's go with double. We'll be able to get back up. Okay, so we got our 3. So it can scale very well, and also it controls some of the later game things that it can do is auto craft, and not just auto craft, it can recursively craft. So the gigantic thing that I had to do all that red power auto crafting, it can do quite, well, easily and also do a bunch of other things. Now, there are some limitations that are obviously inherent into the design and thus well balanced. One of the things that is that for every single item transfer that occurs between systems, it costs energy. Quite a bit of energy also, so that's something that will need to be considered. Also costs a bit more, I think, to send per item compared to per stack. But when you set things to per stack mode, what happens is that it goes for the flat per stack fee instead of the individual amount. I don't know, depends on what you're going to be doing, but oh well, it's going to take quite a bit anyway. So, I don't think we need a redstone block. So, 4 of those, and we also need these, which is going to require more redstone. Do we even have enough redstone? Does that require glass? Okay, glass in the center. Oh, that's something else. Okay, 4 quartz, and then one of those will make that. How is our redstone doing in our other base? That's a problem. Now, there is currently a glitch in the version of Ultimate that I am using that makes it a little difficult to transfer between ages sometimes, and I do say sometimes, it outright crashes, so it is a bit of a problem. But though I am sure that it's fixed in one of the later versions of Mistcraft, I just can't be bothered currently to fix it myself, but oh well, that is one of the reasons why I am here. Okay, so since we are so limited on redstone, what we're going to do is only make one of these drives to at least better illustrate of what it does. So we're going to need that, and also the glass at the top. Yes, okay, so this is a 4K storage. So what it means is that it can store up to 4K of any amount of items. Now, unfortunately, it seems to really love my mouse. Let's see if it does it when I sort outside. No, it doesn't. And yes, it does. I have no idea why it does that, but oh well. So, let's see. We got an ME drive here. We can put it into here. And now, it is inside it. It kind of looks like an eye, which is a little freaky. Now, there's another thing that we are going to need, and that is some sort of fiber. So getting some quartz fiber and combining it with some more redstone, we can get an ME cable. This will transfer the power as well as the fact that it's shared between networks. So this cable pretty much is like the glass fiber in the fact that it connects two networks together. However, it connects it in every single aspect with this. So it actually gets power, but when you look at here, you can see that it's now using 9 units per tick, so 4.5 EU per tick. I'm hoping that either it doesn't round or... Anyways, so... But it also uses energy for 2 cables as well as one of these. So we're also going to want to go for another item, which is going to bring the stuff into the network. That will require an import bus. That requires an ME interface, which requires another cable, but also a conversion matrix, which, oh my gosh, it requires even more stuff. Okay, so this is so that we can get the network on. And do we even have enough of everything to connect everything together? One, we're going to need to connect that, but we need an ME interface, which needs... Okay, we have just enough redstone. We are definitely going to need to get some more redstone. Does that require... Now, the only problem I have with the crafting that is required in Applied Energistics is the fact that there are so many stages with so many things that becomes very convoluted very quickly. So another thing that we're going to need is to get a bit of sticky on, and that's going to require either a slime ball that we have. Yes, we have a slime. Dang, with all the constant crashes, it's hard to keep up with where you are. So if I remember right, we were making the sticky piston because for some reason it's required for importing lots and lots of data. I have no idea. I'm not the one who writes this stuff. So let's go and get the other part. You know what would be good? Does this work? Yes, it does. Why wasn't I using this before? Maybe because it's too convenient. Oh well, so we got the ME interface, which also is going to require a bit of iron and the cable. And here we go. We got an ME import bus. Now what this is used for, or rather with, is to get a chest or any sort of item inventory to interact with this stuff. So if we put the import bus temporarily here, we can put this on the side of a chest, and anything that's in here, if we check. Okay, so this redstone mode shows always active, and this is stack. Move single items, or we can move stacks of items. This will change the amount of energy that is used, and also how much is moved at a single time, which is kind of obvious, but oh well. And also, a nice thing about this is that applied energistics, if you put it like this, every single cable attachment type, if that even makes any sense, you can have it as a cable as well. So an ME interface works as a cable. Even this thing works as a cable. So if you put this here and this here, you'll be able to connect it up. But that's not what we're doing. Let's put this here and put the chest on top of it. I put the chest on top of it. Is that even possible? Hello. There we go. We'll be able to get stuff out of here and put it into the disk. Okay, so here, now it is in the data of the disk, and you can see one of 63 types is stored, but 33 bytes is used. If we put another in, you can see 33 bytes used. So we're going to have to look more into the details of that. But how are we going to get to that? We are going to need an access terminal to obviously access into the network, and that's going to require another conversion matrix, which requires more redstone. So we're going to need 2 more pieces of redstone. Do we have 2 more pieces of redstone somewhere in here? Please, somewhere in here. Oh, I should check. Dang it, there's cactus. That definitely stalled up the system, and is why we're going to be migrating as soon as possible away from the barrel storage network system thing that is currently adherently horrible. And there is redstone, good. Let's put this barrel here so we can absorb the cactus. And might as well get all but 1 redstone from here. I think last time I checked the first quarry, it was currently at y equals 20, so it must be y equals 19 by now. So let's see. We are going to need, and you can see that this is quite heavy on the quartz, but the redstone is also a huge one that it's contingent on. So another ME basic processor and another one of these. Why I didn't use the handy dandy crafting thing, and I am not making another one of you. Shut up. Okay, so this, and thankfully we did have the extra ME cable that was allowed. Now what I'd love, wait, the fabricator is able to do what I was thinking of. The fabricator from Zycraft, you're able to press the question mark that is here, and it will put the crafting recipe into the fabricator, as well as being able to, well, you can auto craft right away. It's very simple. Okay, so now we have the ME terminal. So you can see it's now using 11 units per tick, which is quite extravagant, though as you can see we didn't use much fuel at all, so that is good. I would love to have this moved somewhere else. Eventually that will be how it goes, and we might want something more eloquent, but oh well. So let's say we store a bunch of random stuff in here, put it to stack mode, and you can see it's at 16, then 13, then whatever. Okay, now all the stuff is stored into this drive. You may be wondering, how do we access this? That's what I was wondering beforehand. This is where fun stuff comes into play when we go into the access terminal and can grab the stuff from here and also put the stuff back in. And there's different sortings, so we can go with sort by, priority, sell, order, etc. We can go item name and number of items, and also sorting direction with that, as well as stored and craftable. So we don't even really need this, conceivably. However, it is nice to have. Let's take that again. And I thought I noticed a color change when I placed this on that thing over there. Let's see. Yep, there was like a data zip showing something. I'm not too sure what it was showing exactly, but oh well. So, conceivably, we can store everything that we need into here. Now, I don't think we're actually able to import anything via going into here. That is worth a check. Do we have enough material for a transposer? No. And we can't even make our own cobblestone because someone decided to be using his Silk Touch pick to use as its fun stuff. Okay, so filter. And by simply filtering in an apple, we'll be able to see easily whether this will accept the item. So just throw in the apple. And it's evident that this does not indeed accept items. So that is a nice thing to know, although should have been easily obvious. So what we can do, though, is if we were to have some sort of design that randomly puts items in, we can just go like that, and it'll go automatically into our food storage network. So shift clicking gathers everything, and as I said before, it will require energy to do so. So we will have to be extra cautious on how we are going to set this up. Now, I don't think we need to do anything special with that currently. Rabbit, why are you here? I don't know why a rabbit spawned here because it's a Twilight Forest mob. And I haven't really gone to the Twilight Forest, and B, this is a mushrooms biome. There's no reason that this should be here, and spawning on stone also. If you love animals, look away. Okay, you should have also covered your ears, because that would have been cruel to them. So, now we have this, and there are a few other things that we can do with this. Also, an export bus is available, and an export bus requires a piston instead of a sticky piston. I wonder who thought of that idea. If you say the mod maker, I will kill you. So, obviously, we only have so much storage opportunity with this. As you can see here, it can only have 63 types of items. Now let's quickly check what our barrel sorting network has at its disposal, and then we'll be able to easily determine. Wait a second. What the heck? How the heck did you get there? Why were there stone bricks in the system? I don't even want to know. Okay, so we're also getting saltpeter. No, that is probably tin. We're also, no, that might be iron. I could also just check. No, that's silver. That's iron. I wasn't right in either case. So 64 was the number, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. That's 66 items currently in my barrel sorting network. So what we really need conceivably is 2 drives, so 2 disks to store all the data. Now obviously they're going to get full really fast. So what I might want to do is maybe get 4 disks. 4 disks might be enough, and we can format them also. There's a disk formatter, ME preformatter, which allows a disk to only store 1 item. So that can also be a method for us to work on. Now, what I did was, dang squirrel, am I going to have to do this each and every single time? Because I do not Well, maybe I do want fuzzy animals in my workshop, but you're not supposed to know that. Gosh. Huh. Also, I'm not too sure how much items can be stored on one single disk. I might do that test later on, but oh well. So, we have the ME basic processor and we need 4 in total. So let's just make one final disk. Then we'll think about ways that we can integrate this into either an existing system or we're going to need to make our own system from scratch. That should be easy enough to do. I can think of a few methods on what we can make, though that will require a bit of effort, that's to be sure. So let's first make this, and I installed a new Mistcraft version, so it should be much better right now what I have. Okay, so I was going for storage, right? I wanted one more 4K of storage. That will require storage cells, which requires a lot of redstone. Do we have enough redstone? Dang it, we don't have enough redstone. Why do we never have enough redstone? Okay, so we'll have to wait for our quarry to get to the redstone. That will not be too much of a problem. But in the meantime, let's just throw this in, have it processed. Then we can talk about ways that we can take the opportunity to work on better systems. And why you're like that, I don't know. But I know that if I right-click on you, I am going to be in a world of hurt. So I will not. So one of the things that we're going to want to do when we take the, dang, it's tungsten. Why is there always stuff that's jamming up my quarry stuff? At least there should be enough buffer room for there to be goodness. Okay, so what we're going to want is not that in there. I have no idea why nickel was there in the first place, but oh well. This part will easily be taken care of by the ME storage once we get enough space, and that'll require a little redstone. So what I'm thinking we'll need to do is go through the other linking book that I have in there in the home world, and that'll travel us directly to the quarries, which will be good for when we want to move them at any sort of given time. And also, number 2, the thing that we're going to want to improve is this system here, so that will, yes, Ferris. Okay, that is a worthy distraction. So we'll want to change this so that we can handle tiny dust a lot better. So there are a few ways of doing that. One of the ways is through one of the Greg Tech machines, which is the electric auto crafter right here, the electric crafting table, and that's going to require a, well, it could either be recursive and use itself, which I don't think we're going to do, and it requires some batteries, some pulsating chipsets, and some electrum. That'll be an easy enough thing to do, and we'll have to go for next episode to see how we're going to make use of that, but I assure you it will be a worthwhile aspiration. So let's just quickly check back at our other quarry area. We'll see how we're doing and see if we can pick... Ah, crud. Well, that's all the time we have for this episode of EEPower. If you like what you see, don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe to future episodes. WayofTime here, signing off. Have a wonderful day. Dagnabbit.